Alright, so I'm back at it again on the Ryobi electric riding lawnmower, converting over to a gas-powered go-kart for the neighbor. I stripped off the seat and the body panel. It sits right in here so I can get access to, really it's routing the throttle cable I'm going to put in here. My plan is to use one of these apparatuses for holding the cable into position, and then, or the shielding, and then this type of apparatus for hooking the cable up to the existing throttle pedal. What I'm currently trying to do is get this panel off so I can gain access to a plate under here. So the plate I'm trying to put this component in is this plate right here. Once I get that in there, then I can work on where to put the little holder. So this little piece, if you can see it well enough, has got a hole for the cable to go into, and when you tighten it down is what pinches the cable. I was going to do a different setup, but I don't have one of those. So it's going to go down here, but the best way I can show you is, here's the throttle. Oh, focus. There. That would be the throttle pedal, and I'll drill a hole underneath. It goes through this thing, and when it tightens down, it will pinch the cable into the hole. Boy, that focus is terrible. Into the hole, holding the cable onto the throttle pedal. Let me get this thing either stripped down or turned on its side and get working on it. Okay, so I got it rolled up on its side. The hole I need to drill is a little tiny dot right there. Problem is, even if I were to take off the footboard area, it wouldn't give me access to get my big old drill in here because there's just no room. It won't get there. So I went looking for my pneumatic 90-degree drill, and then I remembered, oh yeah, you gave that to one of your buddies because you never used it. What an idiot. So next best thing is I took my die grinder, pulled the cutoff wheel out of it, put a 1/4-inch drill bit in it, which is too small, but it'll make a hole. I can get in there with the die grinder and drill a hole from there. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'll have to cross that bridge when I get there. Time to drill a hole and try to slow this die grinder down to be able to drill it. The 90-degree die grinder sucked. The only thing it did is give me a center point from my center punch to get the drill in here. So I got thinking, well, I have another drill. It's an old one, but it might do the trick, and it's not as bulky. And I was able to get the hole stepped out a couple sizes. And I believe this is going to be the final size, almost. So once I get done with this, it'll be slightly angled. I'll go under the die grinder, touch it up, and then run the tap through it. Let's see how sharp this bit is. That worked amazing. Perfect. All right. Let me clean that hole up and run the tap through it. We'll see what we got. Perfect. That was what I was looking for. This gives me adjustment on the cable shielding. Cable will go through the middle of it, and then I'll hook up the cable itself into this area here. All right, time to drill a hole in that. Hopefully that's a lot easier. So there's the throttle cable installed into the adjuster piece I drilled and tapped. My plan was to go up here and use a simple system that kind of just pinches the cable. The only problem with that is as the throttle moves and the cable is actually solid anchored, what'll happen to this end is it'll end up twisting and twisting and twisting, because I'd have to cut this little piece off here and then clamp down on the cable. And what happens over time is it just ends up bending and bending and bending, and it bends it right here and snaps it. Went up my bicycle crap, found the new plan. So this here will allow this piece, can I do it one-handed? Yes, to slide in there. I'll have to find a really good way to keep that in that little slot. Come on, focus. There, which I have some ideas, but I'll be able to mount this, drill this rivet out, mount that to the throttle pedal. That way it'll allow it to basically pivot around much like this here assembly is showing you. Given much longer life out of the cable and hopefully preventing it from snapping off. Alright, so there is the throttle assembly. I really like this piece because this allows it to pivot around, if I can move it, up and down. That'll keep it from working that cable and ruining it. And as it comes down, good clearance, and back up. Oops, my foot slipped off the outer shielding. So that's kind of how she works. I like the way it turned out. The only problem I do have is if there's enough slack given at this point, stay in focus, this cable can pop up and out. So I will find a way to capture it down in there, possibly heat shrink. Yeah, heat shrink, that's what I'm going to do. Better than a zip tie. Well, yay, look what showed up today. The pillow block bearings. That is what's going to support the shaft that comes out of the rear end. My plan so far is I cut off one of the rails of the top battery mount. So that's the component that held the batteries into the tray that slid in and out of this electric mower. I will take these pillow block bearings. The set screws are loose, so they'll slide right on. They're going to be mounted on this some way to support the shaft so it doesn't move around. The shaft will hold the pulley. I grabbed a pulley while I was in town. It's a 5-inch, might be too fast, but I can switch that out with the belt size. Originally I was going to come straight up, make a flat point, and then go back down, or I should say up, at an angle because the force on this shaft is going to be up and back. I decided to make a triangle out of it, so I got this piece cut off from the bracket and just sitting in here. The pillow block bearing on this end will sit on here once I get the right angles and everything, so this shaft is parallel to the rear end because I don't want it to be any weird angle given vibrations, additional wear of the seal or bearings in here, or creating a bind of any sort. So I'll get the other support here, I'll get this cut off here, and I'll go from here back with another bracket like this, and that will be this side. Down here, I'm actually, since the rear end doesn't move separate from the frame, I'm thinking about taking this pillow block bearing, let's move this one for a moment, and laying in an angle iron. Let's see if I can do this without smacking the camera. So I've got a hole right here, oh, get it focused, up here that I can bolt it to, and a hole right here I can bolt it to. So I put a channel iron in here of the right length, bolt the pillow block bearing to it, bolt the bracket to the rear end, and that should take care of the other side. I'm considering when the motor's in to take a bracket from here and go up and bolt to the face of the motor, stopping any movement. Well, let me get some things cut out, and before I weld it, I'll start another video. So there's the metal cut out. Our plan is to lay these, well, using two hands obviously, lay these in a manner of like that, and then get them welded up here in a position. Let's see if I can get them up there and show you. Probably not, probably drop them a few times. Yeah, this ain't gonna work. Let's get it in frame, dum-dum. Okay, just a minute. Okay, like that. Voila, just like that. I think that'll turn out very well. Got to remove some paint. That's what the black mark is for. Remove some paint, get them tack welded in, and go from there. There is the rear shaft supports with the pillow block bearings. I did a little video on this bracket. I should have done some more video on this one, but you get working and just kind of space off what you're really doing, and you just get into the zone of building. So this is just a 90-degree channel iron laying on there, bolted into the rear end on the two of the 3 holes the motor bolted onto. Pillow block bearing drilled in, mounted to that. And the top one I did work on. Got to pull it all apart, clean it up, shoot some paint on it, and once I get the center of the pulley board out at work to fit that shaft, I'll get that mounted and I can set it up on his wheels and be done with this thing flipped over. Okay, I'm at work doing a little milling on the shaft. I decided to do a keyway in it. I can't do much recording here because technically I shouldn't. I just thought I'd show you a quick shot of the process of milling this groove. Speaking of not doing video and just getting into the build, here I am now. I did try this pulley, different size belt, and it made it all the way up to actual lawnmower speed. So I went from a 5-inch sheave, or pulley as many people call it, to a much smaller one. I think I have a 3-inch on there, smaller belt, and I believe the clutch pulley and the bottom pulley are now the same size. Shaft is installed. I did end up putting that keyway in it. I'm about to start up and see what this speed gains, and I hope I don't have to do a different size because that's going to be a tiny, tiny little bottom pulley. Let me get her started. Right over the hammer. Not bad, much better speed. Only thing left from here is to have the father look at it before his son sees it, because I don't want to just take it over to their house and show up and the kid will know it's for him. And if the dad's like, no, that thing sits too tall or goes too fast for the rough terrain they'll be running through a field, to get rid of some of the top weight, or I should say the ease of tipping over, I could take the seat off this area, cut this out, sink it down into here, sitting there, and then take a lot of the height out of that steering shaft and drop the whole weight of this thing in the seating position. Might make it a little more safe, but I'll have him look at it first. Thanks for watching.